Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make John Summit Repopulate Mars style sort of minimal tech house. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything including the build up and the full drop that you just heard in the intro are available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. If you guys enjoy my videos, definitely consider going to pick this up and get a really solid project file. Plus, it really helps support me so I can keep bringing you guys new videos every day. And yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Let's dive in. Alright, so we are at 126 BPM, very standard tempo for the style of house. And the first sound we've got going on here is the kick. This is a new kick. I haven't shown you guys this before. It's made by layering two kicks together, and actually we gotta drag that a little bit. So yeah, you can hear this kick is just nice and punchy. Essentially what's happening here is we've got this one in the mid-range and highs, and then this one in the lows. And you'll notice that I synced up the start times there. But yeah, and you'll notice like when you do it this way, you really don't have to do too much processing, right? Because it's just a really good low end, really good mid-range and highs, and then you put those together, and it just works. And then we just have a high-pass filter on this, which comes in for the intro. So there's a bit of automation there, just turning that on. But also you'll notice that I have, so it's being high-pass here, and then it goes up, and then it goes kind of like coming back in, and then it disappears again, and then you get the full kick. So there's a lot of tension building that can be done there, just with the high-pass on the kick, as you can hear. Then we have the bass line. So yeah, we're in the key of D minor here. I'll play you this pitch step so you can hear the bass line. So that's what you're hearing. It's just like a ton pitched down, essentially. And you can hear this just grooves really nicely off of that kick. And it's just this nice, fat, moving bass line like this. That sits really well underneath the groove. And for the sound on this one, we have an instrument rack, but actually we're only using one layer here. So what's happening is it's this pretty standard sort of sine wave FM bass you can see here. So yeah, we just got 3 sine waves, got the last one an octave down. So there's just the sine wave. And then with oscillator 1, you can hear makes it a bit fatter. And then oscillator 3 is here, just adding a little bit of like a punch onto the sound, as you can hear. And tends to make it a bit lower as well. And then this is just being sidechained to the kick. We don't have any other processing on the bass line. Yeah, we want to try to get the low end working with as little processing as possible, right? Like, even if we could put some extra saturation on here, and it might get fatter, it might get whatever, I'd rather just turn the volume up and get it sounding really fat and dry than trying to do all that with like extra saturation and compression. Because ultimately, your low end's just going to be a lot cleaner this way. And yeah, then we have the vocals. So you can hear, essentially what we're doing is we just have these 3 different vocal samples, just like kind of classic house vibes. And then you can see, it's all about spacing them out, right? Like we've got over here, kind of this sequence that plays. And it's like each vocal has its own space to play. And then over here, even while they're all kind of playing at the same time, it's still spaced out to where you can hear each individual one. And so that's what this is about. You know, you want to have like a lot of vocals like this that are just still fitting into their own place in the beat, right? Like it's not taking over like the place of the kick and the bass and the drums or anything like that. But you can just kind of flip through them like this. And then you pick one to be kind of like your hook, right? Like, that's what I would say the Oh Honey is. Like, Like, if I was gonna release this, I'd probably call this track Oh Honey. So that's how that's working. But yeah, like, it's just a matter of getting some good vocals, really. Like, a lot of times, like, that really makes a difference. Like, just having, like, a really great, amazing vocal sample compared to just having an okay vocal and then dropping it into the track. Like, I think these are really solid, and it makes a big difference. And then it's also, because obviously this is like minimal tech house, quote unquote, it's also a lot of like just knowing when to space it out. Because once this drop comes, you really don't want as much vocals as we wanted back here, right? Like these were really just over here to kind of keep things moving in the build-up. But in this part, it's just a matter of like play it without the vocals, and you just listen for that moment when you feel it can't go on any longer without the vocal. Like right there where that one plays, that's about where it felt like it needs something. And then we kind of start giving it away a little bit more once that happens. And the only other thing to discuss here with the vocals is just really understanding like placement of vocals, and not just in terms of like placing them like having one and then the other and then another, but placing them like actually in the grid. Like what I mean by that is like you can see like this one happens on the and of one, right? It goes one and one now. This one happens on the 4, so that you get the honey right on the 1 there. You get oh honey right when the kick comes back, or like this one. Like even that, like we could have just dropped that here, but now you see it covers up the word honey. And it sounds better letting this play all through this. So just really understanding like you're not just always going to drop the vocals on the 1, right? You're not just going to do that. You want to make sure like they're kind of fitting into the beat a little bit. And we don't have any processing on those individually, but then on the group I just have a bit of echo, which you can see is doing quarter notes, so it's a pretty long echo. And that creates some nice atmosphere there in the track. It's also got the reverb. And then I just have a high pass filter just to make sure you don't get in the way of the bass. And then we have the drums. Now these are all in a group, and it's not actually doing that much group processing. It's really just for something which I'll show you in a moment. But we start here with these hi-hats. So these are some new hi-hats that I made here. So we've got this one, and then this one. And you'll notice they both do very different things. So this is how this layering and how these hi-hats are going to work. Is that obviously they're very fat and very full sounding, right? Like if you play like the hi-hats and then the clap and the kick, like these are all very big, fat, bombastic sounds. And you don't really get that just by like one hi-hat sample. Like even the best hi-hat sample pack you could find, I guarantee you there's not just one hi-hat in there that's going to do this. So you have to choose samples that complement each other. Like in this case, this one's got a lot of fullness and punch in the mid-range. It's got that like... But then this one has a lot of sharpness and has like those bright highs. And this one on its own wouldn't really work. It would be a little bit too weird. Right? Like it's not really got that proper to it. But then the on its own also doesn't work. So then you put them together, and it's the perfect combination of both there. So that's kind of the idea behind that. And you'll notice there's no processing. You know, we're not really worrying about like, oh, are these hi-hats perfectly compressed together? Because it's just two sounds that sound good together, and that's all you need. Then we have the clap, which is made in a similar way, and it's the same deal here. So we have like a clap, which has a nice to it, and the snare, which has a nice, and then you put them together, and you get this really fat sounding clap, and it works really well because it needs to really be like equal with the kick there. You need this to hit. If this is too soft, it's not really gonna work. So yeah, just having those layers, again, same deal. Then we have this little shaker loop. So you can hear that's giving us a more like live kind of hi-hat. just underneath everything. We have these bells, which if I play this, yeah, you can hear that now if I play it with that. Yeah, just like these different bell samples. I think I only use these two actually. I pitched them down a bunch, but you can hear that's just one of those like background, more live sounding elements in the groove. And yeah, it's something you might not always notice on first listen, but if you get rid of it, there's definitely going to be something missing from the groove. And then we have this little rave loop. And so this is also one of those elements. Now, this is kind of happening with a bit of call and response, right? Because we have like that push and pull there, right? And that's the idea behind this. Like, I could just have this play all the way through, like it just goes. But it's kind of nice giving it the space here. And then having that come into the groove. So that's the idea behind that. And it goes back to the minimal thing. It's like, you know, we don't always need something in those spaces. So why not just leave it open and then let this be that much more impactful in the second half of the bar. Then we just have like these bongos. Now, these are one of those things that you really might not hear on first listen, but if I take them out, you're really gonna miss it. And I learned this because I was working on this track for like an hour or two, and then I finally realized, oh, it just needs the bongos. Right? Because it's just giving you that constant like, kind of mid-range, low-end, like, and just fits in there really well. Then we have this live percussion. So more of like a live loop in there, and yeah, that's just, you can see I was mixing it a little bit. That's just kind of like another like, you know, giving you that live element that you need, because I think if you only have the rigid programmed percussion, like everything that's in MIDI, it's going to be a bit flat, right? You need this live element to give life to the track. Then we just have this little tambourine, which you can hear over top of that shaker. You can hear what that's adding to that. We have this little snare, which if I play that with the hi-hat, you'll hear what it's doing. Yeah, you know, just another little percussion element. And then finally, we have this little tech house hi-hat, which sounds like this. So you'll notice, it happens once every 2 bars. That's all it does. And it's just doubling up what the regular hi-hats are doing there, where it's like, it just gives you this one extra little hit in there, and it sounds really good. I've noticed John Summit does this in a lot of tracks, and it's one of those things that you can do. I mean, I think a lot of people do this in these style of tracks, but it's something that you can do to really, like, sort of reinvigorate this pattern, right? Because obviously everyone's heard a million times in their lives. Even if you aren't a fan of dance music, you've heard this groove before. But this is one of those little things, just bringing this in like once every 2 bars. That just makes it a little bit more fresh and kind of like I said, reinvigorates it, I feel like. And then on the group here, so all we have is an EQ. It's just doing a tiny high-end boost, but really what we have it for is here, at the end of the break, just to make the drums disappear. So if they come back again really hard. And if I turn this off, you can hear. not quite as impactful when that comes back in. So it's just making those disappear. The reason why I use an EQ8 instead of just an auto filter is because actually auto filter, if you notice, see if I just turn this all the way up. See how there's like that little discrepancy right there? And yeah, you can turn the resonance up, but it's still kind of weird. But it's essentially cutting out like that little like tiny frequency range. And that might not seem like much, but hi-hats are the high end in your track, right? That's like that, like those kind of frequencies. So we don't want to cut that out. And that's what happens if you just use an auto filter. So that's why I like to use EQ8 for that. And yeah, and then the other stuff down here is pretty much just like the building stuff, right? Like we have a nice building snare. So all it is, it's just this cool like velocity thing that I did where it's like and then we have this utility just fading it up in volume. We have this noise build, which is just a bit of white noise with a bandpass filter on it. Although I've done something a little bit different this time. What we've got is, you can see I had the feedback up on this chorus, and then as we go up here, the rate is going faster. So if you listen to that, you can hear it like do this crazy thing. So yeah, kind of an interesting thing to do there compared to if you turn that off. You just get that shh. Then we have this riser, which I made with Wavetable. So all it is it's just, you can see this Wavetable patch is just a saw wave and a square wave with a bunch of unison. Just constantly building up, or just constantly like, on that one note like that. And this auto pan on here to make it sound like it's kind of bouncing off of the kick. And then the build is happening with this low pass filter, which just slowly comes up. And then we have a frequency shifter here. And this we're automating the fine pitch as well as the coarse pitch. And yeah, you can hear, the cool thing about making a riser this way is I think it adds like a nice texture to it, right? Like it's not just like pitching up, but there's all the stuff happening as well from the frequency shifter. Then we just have a crash, which just plays, you know, pretty frequently. Like having that constant, and then maybe 2 or 4 bars later, another crash, like can really make, I think, a lot more energy here. And then as we get over here, it's like, and then it just hits right there. So, kind of using the crash to make the build even more impactful, and that's just got a bit of reverb. And then finally we just have this string, and this is really just for like the very beginning there. All it's playing is it's the root note right there. So we're in the key of D minor, so we're using the root note. We're using the 5th, which you can see, yeah, we have an right there, and then one right there, and then another root note up high here. That's all that is. It's a very simple chord, but it's just meant to add something musical in the background there. And then it's just this string sample. I'm looping it here and using the fade. And then what's happening is I'm using a low pass filter to just make it disappear, because you don't really need this by the end of the build-up, right? Because there's so much stuff happening. So it's just there in the beginning, and then it fades out. And that's just going through a bit of reverb, another auto pan to make it bounce off of the kick. And yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything, including the build-up, full drop, everything you see here is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp. It's just $5, but it really helps support me. I don't make a whole lot just off of YouTube videos, but with these sample packs and different things like this, and you guys supporting, I'm able to keep going and keep bringing you guys new videos like this every single day. So thank you so much for the support, everybody. Every sale really helps, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.